Fan Xian pushed open the door of the study room and stood respectfully in front of his father Fan Jian, who was on official business, but Fan Jian just let him close the door and ignored him. On the other side, the second lady instructed the servant to clean up the servant's kitchen so that Fan Xian could live in it. Knowing that Fan Xian had stayed in the study room for a long time and did not come out, she asked Fan Xian to inquire about it. Unexpectedly, Fan Xi withdrew. She slipped away when the maid wasn't paying attention. At the beginning of the night, Fan Xian had been standing and watching Fan Jian handle his official business, until he finally stopped. Fan Xian knelt down to greet him. Fan Jian asked Fan Xian what kind of person he wanted to be, and Fan Xian frankly said that he had no big ambitions, and only hoped for a safe and wealthy life, a sweet wife, and a suave romance. Fan Jian asked him again how he started his business. Fan Xian said the common routines used by time travelers to make glass, soap, white sugar, etc. But these things were thought of by Qingmei long ago, and they were only used by nobles, so that they didn't spread. Fan Xian could only sigh. Following this topic, Fan Jian mentioned that after Qingmei's death, the business under her name was controlled by the royal family and returned to the internal treasury. Since Emperor Qing had no time to take care of it, it was handed over to the eldest princess Lin Wan'er for management. The eldest princess has a peerless beauty and a gentle temperament. Although she was not the younger sister of Emperor Qing, she was extremely trusted by Emperor Qing, and she had not yet been married. Fan Xian didn't expect that his seemingly serious father would tell him these gossips, teasing whether he had a crush on the eldest princess. Fan Jian was very helpless, so he told him that the eldest princess and the current Prime Minister Lin Wan'er had an illegitimate daughter named Lin Wan'er. It's just that not many people know about this, and Lin Wan'er was the woman Fan Xian was going to marry this time. Emperor Qing said, as long as anyone can marry Lin Wan'er, he can take over the inner treasury. This was also the reason why Fan Jian brought Fan Xian back to the capital. This was the best time to retake Qingmei's business. There are many people who didn't want Fan Xian to take over the inner treasury. One of them was the eldest princess Lin Wan'er. In the middle of the night, Lin Wan'er personally went to the palace to ask to see the Queen Mother, and begged the Queen Mother to prevent Fan Xian from marrying Wan'er on the grounds that Fan Xian had no virtue or talent. Hearing her words, the Queen Mother gave her a look at Eunuch Hong, the leader of the eunuchs beside her. Eunuch Hong understood that he walked to Lin Wan'er's side, and suddenly gave her a hard slap. The Empress Dowager warned Lin Wan'er that only Emperor Qing could decide the affairs of the harem, and this slap reminded her to keep her senses. Fan Xian thought that the marriage would not be possible if the eldest princess did not agree, but Fan Jian told him that the eldest princess could not decide Lin Wan'er's marriage, and only Emperor Qing could decide this matter. Emperor Qing had 4 sons. The eldest prince was out and in charge of the army, the 4th prince was young, and now it was the crown prince and the 2nd prince who were fighting for the imperial power. The eldest princess has always supported the prince's lineage, and Emperor Qing could never let the royal family's financial power be in the hands of the prince, so he decided to change the person in power. This was probably the reason why Fan Xian Danzhou was assassinated. Fan Xian thought that Fan Jian's remarks were partial to Lu Ruyu, so Fan Jian took him to confront Lu Ruyu. Fan Jian asked Lu Ruyu if he instructed Butler Zhou to assassinate Fan Xian. Lu Ruyu was shocked when she heard the words, and anxiously explained to him that doing so would not benefit her at all, and would even anger the master and drive her out of Fan's residence. Fan Xian felt that there was some truth in what she said, but Fan Xian felt that she could not prove her innocence with her few words. During the meal, Lu Ruyu's style suddenly changed, and she was very affectionate to Fan Xian. Fan Xian also cooperated with her. The two came and went like mother and son. Fan Xian was very puzzled when he saw this scene, and quietly asked Ruoro about the situation. Hearing that Fan Jian suspected that his mother was going to kill Fan Xian, the chopsticks in his hand were frightened. When the eldest princess left the Queen Mother's palace, Gong Dian came to announce her to see Emperor Qing. When the eldest princess saw Emperor Qing, she knelt down and admitted that she didn't want Wan'er to marry Fan Xian. Emperor Qing accused her of not saying something directly, and why sending someone to ruin Fan Xian's reputation. The eldest princess said that she didn't know what Emperor Qing was talking about, so Emperor Qing asked Gong Dian to investigate the situation. After a while, Gong Dian found out and reported back. Today, it was Han Visher who went out of the palace to purchase, but she had committed suicide. Emperor Qing was not shocked when he heard the words, but asked the eldest princess to stay and wait for others. After a long time, the crown prince Li Qingqian came in a hurry. He opened his mouth and directly admitted that the matter of the palace maid was arranged by him. The eldest princess sat on the chair calmly. Emperor Qing laughed and scolded the eldest princess for not admitting anything. Power grabs were inevitable, but they cannot lose their bottom line, let alone use such despicable methods to destroy the foundation of the royal family. After that, he threw the list of his dismissed officials to him, and let the two leave together. After the meal, Ruoro and Fan Xian took their leave, and Fan Xian took Lu Ryu in his arms and wanted to leave, but Fan Jian left Fan Xian alone. He knew that Fan Xian secretly had Ting Zijing to help him enter the capital, and told him to be cautious in the capital. He took out a sea arrest document from his arms. Fan Xian opened it and found that it was Ting Zijing. Fan Jian told him to be careful of the crown prince and stay away from the people in the inspection institute. He also mentioned that her mother was killed by someone, and the reason why he stayed in Danzhou was to protect him. As for the marriage with Lin Wan'er, let him not worry. Fan Xian heard that Fan Jian's words were all about inner treasury internally and externally. His heart was stuffy. He directly stated that he was a living person with flesh and blood. That internal treasury might be very important to Fan Jian, but he already had someone he liked, and he would not use his life to a business name. The eldest princess looked at the list and understood that Emperor Qing did not prevent the crown prince from fighting for power, but only warned them not to cross the bottom line of military power and official governance. She heard that Fan Xian used a pseudonym and wrote a novel titled The Red Chamber, and she planned to start from which Fan Xian was most famous at. Fan Xian returned to the room, and saw many servants cleaning the room. He tried to persuade them to go back and have a rest, but they felt confused. So Fan Xian pretended to be angry to frighten them away. Ting Zijing sneaked into Fan Xian's room in the middle night. Before he could see Fan Xian, he bumped into Fan Xian. In panic, he had to hide on the bed. Fan Xian didn't pay too much attention, and bluntly said that he shouldn't treat him like that today, and even asked him to go to a restaurant for dinner tomorrow. As soon as Ting Zijing came out, Fan Xian was back again. Ting Zijing was shocked and pretended to be working. Fortunately, Fan Xian suddenly appeared and said that Ting Zijing was the guard who protected him during the journey of entering the capital.